Welcome back to the Table Talk series, where we go over NFPA 72 2025, Chapter 14, the Test and Inspect table. We cover 14.4.3.2, which is the test, and 14.3.1, which is the inspect. So stay tuned to the end. We'll have some test questions, see if you all learned anything today. And we will get into the component. Just a couple notes. I have added some extra features to these videos. So now I have a little night and dark mode on this thing, which is nice. You even have a highlighter tool. You can even click the logo at the top and it'll open up to my webpage. So you could review any videos if you need further explanation on anything. I might maybe sell these documents or something to people if they're interested in them. But anyway, let's continue with this Table Talk series. So this is the video number 8, and it's going to be component number 8. So this is the NFPA 72 2025 National Fire Alarm and Signaling Code, Chapter 14, Inspection, Testing, and Maintenance Tables. This is the Educational Field Guide. This is going to be for component number 8, and it's table 14.4.3.2 only. So this is the secondary or standby power supply. The secondary standby power supply, typically a battery or battery system, is the backup power source that keeps the fire alarm system operational when primary or AC main power is lost. NFPA 72 requires this power supply to sustain system operation for the required standby duration and then power the system into full alarm. Annual testing, click there, verifies the battery system can meet its rated capacity requirements under real load conditions. This includes measuring standby and alarm current demand against the manufacturer's data and confirming the battery's rated capacity includes the required safety margin. 2 separate minimum run times apply. 5 minutes for general alarm systems and 15 minutes for emergency voice communication systems. So a lot of systems will just have a tone or a bell or something like that, and that'll be a 5-minute run. And some have the voice evacuation where it has a message that says something like, please exit the building, this is a fire, right? As the voice evac. So you can run that for 15 minutes. So table 14.3.1, component number 8 is reserved. No visual inspection requirement exists. All testing requirements are in table 14.4.3.2, performed annually by qualified personnel. And then we have a little visual diagram. And now I've added little clicky boxes. So you have the primary power. This is the AC main / utility. So step 1, primary main power is normal AC utility supply to the fire alarm system from the building main electrical panel on a dedicated circuit breaker. During the test, all primary power must be disconnected, forcing the system to operate entirely from the secondary battery power supply, simulating a real power outage. After disconnection, the FACU must immediately generate an audible and visual trouble signal for AC power loss and transmit that trouble signal to the supervising station. Important. Notify the supervising station before disconnecting to prevent a false emergency dispatch. So these boxes kind of give you individual information. You can click them so you have battery standby supply, capacity exceeds, load includes safety margin. So this is going to be steps 3 and 4. Step 3, current demand verification. Measure or verify the system standby and alarm current demand using the equipment manufacturer's published data. Document both values. Step 4, capacity verification. Confirm the battery's rated capacity in amp hours exceeds the system's total power demand, including the required safety margin. This is a mathematical sizing verification, not just a runtime test. Safety margin. The rated capacity must exceed demand, including the safety margin specified by the manufacturer. A battery that barely meets demand with no margin does not pass. So you can click these individual boxes for more information. Just kind of just gives you a visual component. But I'm going to read through the section so we can do this in order, just to make it simple. So for the next section, this is the NFPA 72, table 14.4.3.2. This is the testing secondary standby power supply, which is done by a qualified personnel on an annual basis. So component number 8 is tested annually by qualified personnel. Notify the supervising station, building owner, and occupants per 14.2.4.1 If you hover over this, it'll give you more information. So this is the notification before testing, before conducting any tests that could transmit a signal to a supervising station or cause alarm appliances to operate. The person conducting the test shall notify the supervising station and all other persons who could be affected by the testing. Right? So you do this before testing. And per 14.1.6, design adequacy. Inspection, testing, and maintenance personnel are not required to evaluate the design adequacy of a previously approved system. Their responsibility is to verify the system operates as designed and installed. So basically, you're not reinstalling the system, you're just testing as designed. So, on an annual basis, the secondary standby power supply full test procedure, there are 7 steps. So, again, annual basis, secondary standby power supply per the code 14.4.3.2, component number 8. Perform the following steps in sequence. The test verifies the secondary power supply can sustain system operation under real load condition, meet its rated capacity requirements, including the safety margin, and that all required trouble and alarm indications function correctly. Test procedure. Perform in order. Number 1. Disconnect all primary or main power supplies from the fire alarm system. Remove all AC power sources so the system operates entirely from secondary power or battery power supply, right? So you're flipping the breaker on all the AC circuits, so it's running off the backup battery. Verify the required trouble indication for loss of primary power. Confirm the FACU generates an audible and visual trouble signal indicating AC power loss, and that the trouble signal is transmitted to the supervising station, right? So you cut off the main power, you get an audible tone, you get a visual signal, and that signal transmits over to the monitoring station via phone line or communicator. Step 3, measure or verify standby and alarm current demand. Using the equipment manufacturer's data, document the system's actual or calculated current draw in both standby and alarm modes. So you would effectively use your multimeter. You're going to run it in series, and you're going to run it under your amp connection. I should do a video on this one day. But you're going to run it through the batteries. So as the batteries are on standby, you can see what the current draw is. And when you're in full alarm, you can see what the current draw is. So you have to plug your meter in a certain way to do this. I got to make a video on this one of these days. Step 4, verify battery rated capacity exceeds system power demand, including the required safety margin. Confirm the battery's amp hour rating is sufficient for the manufacturer and applicable code. So it's not just maintaining just the adequate demand, you got to go beyond it, right? I forget what the number is, but you got to go beyond it. Step 5, operate general alarm systems for a minimum of 5 minutes. Activate the system into full alarm and run all general alarm notification appliances for at least 5 minutes while on secondary power. Right? So again, if it's just like horns and bells and stuff like that, there's no voice, you're going to run that for 5 minutes straight. Right? Verifying that you have no issues. You're going to check all your horns and strobes, make sure there's no dropouts, signal dropouts, power demand is too much where it's intermittent. You want to make sure it stays consistent. Step 6. Shouldn't be step 6. This is a voice command. Operate emergency voice communication systems for a minimum of 15 minutes. Where an ECS is part of the system, run it under alarm conditions for at least 15 minutes while on secondary power, right? So it's not really step 5 and 6 because these are 2 separate systems. So step 5 is a general alarm where there's no voice. And step 6 is where there is a voice communication. I should probably edit that later. But basically, if there's voice, so again, if you go into alarm and you have a voice evac system, it'll say, this is an emergency, this is a fire, please exit the building, do not use elevators, blah, 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 right? It'll be talking, right? That's a voice communication system. So that type of system, you're going to run for 15 minutes. And those usually have much larger batteries too, so that's why you're running them for longer. Because it also has to power not just the panel system, but the voice evacuation system. Step 7, reconnect primary, parentheses, main power supply at the end of the test. Restore AC power, verify the system returns to normal, and verify the battery charging circuit resumes. So you're going to flip the breakers back on, so main power comes in. Your power trouble should clear, and your charging circuit should be, your main power should be charging your batteries again. And also it should say here, you verify over supervising station that trouble signal restored. Right, so it came in when you disconnected the power, so it should restore after you reconnect the power. And there's some notes here. 2 separate minimum runtimes. Very important. Both must be met where applicable. General alarm systems require a minimum of 5 minutes. Emergency voice communication systems require a separate minimum of 15 minutes. Where a system includes both minimums must be satisfied. I don't know about that last part here. Usually it's one or the other. Maybe there's a system with both, but I think for most people, they're going to be doing this one because usually like really big buildings have a voice evac system. Like the more common, smaller buildings don't. They just have a general system. So basically, you're going to run it on backup power for a minimum of 5 minutes. Okay? Battery capacity verification. The standard requires verifying the battery's rated capacity exceeds the system's power demand, including the safety margin per 10.6.7 secondary power capacity. The secondary power supply shall have sufficient capacity to operate the system under maximum normal load conditions and then operate all alarm indicating devices on the time specified. The rated capacity shall include a safety margin above the calculated level demand. Right? As per the rated capacity must exceed demand, including the required safety margin. Right? Again, notify the supervising station for 14.2.4.1 before disconnecting primary power to prevent a false emergency dispatch. Also notify building occupants. Alarm appliances will sound up to 15 minutes, right? So same as before, you got to notify everybody. Pass criteria. Number 1, AC power loss trouble signal correctly generates and transmitted. 2, battery capacity verified to exceed system demand, including safety margin. 3, general alarm systems operate minimum 5 minutes on secondary power. And this should say instead of 4, or voice communication systems operate minimum 15 minutes on secondary power. Step 5, primary power reconnected, system returns to normal, and battery charging resumes. Okay, now the knowledge check. Let's see what you've all learned today, if anything at all. And this one's pretty important because on an annual test, you're always going to be doing a general alarm test or a voice evacuation test. Always, 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 right? So you should be doing this as part of your test. All right, so knowledge check for component number 8, the secondary or standby power supply. Again, this is per the NFPA 72, 2025. For the testing table, 14.4.3.2, select the best answer for each question. Okay? And again, I've done some readjusting on this prompt, so I have these little drop-down arrows so you could make it easier to consolidate some of the stuff. But question 1 is going to be about the 5-minute runtime. Does it satisfy the requirement for a general alarm-only system? So, question 1 of 3. A fire alarm system contains only general alarm notification appliances, no emergency voice communications. During the annual test, the technician operates the alarm appliances for exactly 5 minutes on secondary power, then reconnects primary power. Blech. Has a runtime requirement been satisfied? Is the answer A? Yes. 5 minutes is the minimum required for general alarm systems on secondary power, and this test meets it. Is it B? No. The 5-minute minimum only applies when emergency voice communications are also present. For systems with general alarm appliances only, the minimum runtime is 15 minutes to ensure the battery can sustain the full notification load for complete building evacuation without voice guidance. Is it C? No. 5 minutes is insufficient under any system configuration. NFPA 72 requires operating the system until battery terminal voltage drops to the manufacturer's specified end voltage, which typically takes far longer than 5 minutes for a correctly sized battery. Or is it D? Yes, but the technician must also perform a second discharge run immediately after recharging to confirm the battery can sustain a back-to-back alarm cycle. A single 5-minute run does not demonstrate repeated reliability under consecutive emergency conditions within the same 24-hour period. So what is your answer? A, B, C, or D? What is your answer? Question number 2. Which step in the test procedure specifically addresses whether the battery is properly sized? Right? So, which step in component 8 test procedure specifically addresses whether the installed battery is adequately sized for the system it protects? Is it A, disconnecting primary power and verifying the FACU generates the required AC power loss trouble signal? Is it B, operating the general alarm system for the minimum required runtime on secondary power? Is it C, reconnecting primary power at the conclusion of the test and confirming the battery charging circuit resumes and charger output is within the manufacturer's float charge specification? Or is it D, using the equipment manufacturer's published data to measure or verify the system's standby and alarm current demand, then mathematically confirming the battery's rated amp hour capacity exceeds that combined demand, including the required safety margin, to verify the installed battery is properly sized for the system it protects, not simply capable of sustaining the minimum test runtime? So what is your answer for question 2? A, B, C, or D? Let me know. Take a guess. Write in the comments. And question 3. After the annual test, a technician reconnects primary power, observes the AC power loss trouble signal clear, confirms the panel shows normal status, documents the results, and leaves what required verification was missed before leaving. Is it A, the technician did not retest each initiating device after the discharge to confirm they remained in proper operating condition? Battery voltage functions during extended secondary power operation can temporarily shift the sensitivity threshold of analog addressable smoke detectors, requiring re-verification before the system is returned to service. Is it B, the technician did not verify the battery charging circuit resumed after reconnecting power supply, confirming the charger is actively recharging the battery is a required final verification before the test is considered complete? Is it C, nothing was missed, observing the trouble signal clear and confirming normal panel status is all that is required after the reconnecting primary power? Or is it D, the technician did not wait at least 30 minutes after reconnecting primary power before leaving? The transition back to utility power can cause a brief voltage transient that may trigger a false supervisory signal if the battery recharge in rush current temporarily exceeds the threshold monitored by the panel's charging circuit supervisor. So what is your answer for question number 3? Let me know in the comments. Okay. And that's it for component number 8. So again, this is for our Table Talk series. We're going over the individual components. There's about 30 total. We're doing this one video at a time. So let me know your answers in the comments. I will respond and help you out. Hopefully this helps you learn. Again, this is an important component in this series because it's about your audible and visual signal testing, and you're running it off your backup power. And you either have to do a minimum of 5 minutes for a general alarm or 15 minutes for voice evacuation. So it's important to know that. It's important to study up and learn. So hopefully this was helpful for you all. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.